Hi, I'm Dr. Amy Wecker, one of the doctors at the Medical Health Institute, an anti-aging clinic based out of Miami, and also a 46-year-old woman who is aging herself. I am triple board certified in infectious diseases, internal medicine, and functional anti-aging and regenerative medicine. And I'm making this video today to just give you an overview of what might be happening to your aging body and where to start if you want to optimize yourself. So the truth is that we produce vast quantities of almost everything until we're about 25, okay? And then things start to slowly decline. So for the most part, we feel okay until we're about 35, give or take. And then we start to notice, hey, things are not exactly the way that they used to be when we were younger. The biggest thing I think for everybody is fatigue. We start to feel tired, our sex drive declines, our bodies start to change, our sleep changes, our periods change, all these things. And we wonder, what the hell is going on and what can I do about it? So obviously, I can't give you a comprehensive course in women's health in a few minutes, but I want to go over some of the basics for you so you have a general understanding of what's going on and maybe have an idea of where to get started. Now, of course, the easiest thing to do would be to call the Medical Health Institute and make an appointment with me, and I'll take care of you. But putting that aside, let's start with the biochemical cascade, okay? So what actually is going on with our hormones? So we start biochemically with cholesterol, okay? And you have to have enough cholesterol to make your hormones, and actually you just have to have a cholesterol of 140 to make your hormones from. So most of us do, it's not a problem, although some people do have a very low cholesterol and then it's not quite enough. But most of us have a cholesterol of over 140. So then from cholesterol, we make something called pregnenolone. So pregnenolone is the mother hormone. It's the precursor to the other hormones. And on its own, it is also very important for your brain, for your memory and your concentration. And this declines with age. And again, by the time we're in our mid-30s or a little older, the pregnenolone is probably pretty low. So then from pregnenolone, we make progesterone. So we think of progesterone as a pregnancy hormone, and it is, but it does so much more. Progesterone helps us sleep. It keeps us calm. It treats anxiety. It regulates our periods. I know one of the first things that we notice when we start getting older is that we stop sleeping. That's actually one of nature's ways of taking us out. So that is a progesterone deficiency. We think we're going crazy, but we're not. Also, progesterone helps control the night sweats. So when you find yourself awake in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, and again, I'm a 46-year-old woman, believe me, I know, that is a progesterone deficiency. Okay, so from the pregnenolone, we also make DHEA. DHEA is made in the adrenal glands, and it has a lot to do with our overall resilience to stress and our sense of well-being. Then from the DHEA, we make 3 different forms of estrogen and we make testosterone. So estrogen, okay, that's the female hormone, right? So we actually have 3 forms of estrogen, E1, E2, and E3. E1 is estrone, and that is the predominant estrogen that we make after menopause, and it's not great for us. So we never give estrone. We like to give the other estrogens to bring the production of estrone down. E2, estradiol, is the primary estrogen that we make during our reproductive years. This is really what makes us female. It controls fat deposition. It gives us that nice female body shape, those curves. It controls the hot flashes. When you get hot flashes, that's from an estrogen deficiency. It has a lot to do with our sex drive as well. Estrogen and testosterone together control the sex drive, and estrogen also protects our bones, our brain, our heart. It's very important. And then we have E3, estriol, which is a very weak estrogen, but it is also very protective. So in my practice, I like to give a blend of E3 and E2. Some physicians will just give the E2, but I like to give a blend. So, okay, and then going back to the DHEA, from the DHEA we make the 3 estrogens and we also make testosterone. Testosterone for women is magic, okay? We think of it as a male hormone, and of course it is, but all human beings need estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. We just need them in different quantities depending on if we are male or female. So testosterone for women is really magic. We just need a tiny little bit compared to men, but it is so important. It gives us energy, sex drive, good mood, and just this general excitement at being alive. So in my experience, like I said, everything starts to decline after about 25, but the hormones don't all decline at the same rate. So usually the first thing to go is the testosterone, and then the second thing to go is the progesterone. And then we usually keep our estrogen more or less until we go into menopause. I mean, we may give a little bit of estrogen before frank menopause, but I'll table that discussion for another day. So basically, when you go to the doctor, ideally, you're going to want to have your pregnenolone, DHEA, estradiol, progesterone, and testosterone checked. With testosterone, you want to get a free and a total, and a sex hormone binding globulin. And gosh, this discussion is going to end up being more complicated than I thought. And with the estrogens, if you can, you do want to have all three estrogens checked, the E1, E2, and E3. So, okay, I hope this is not beyond the scope of this talk, but let me go back to this whole thing that I just mentioned, the sex hormone binding globulin. So when you look at your testosterone, you're going to get two numbers, right? You have a total testosterone, which for the untreated 40-year-old woman, let's say, would be somewhere around 10, 15. And then you'll get a free testosterone, which would be 1 or 2. So then you might wonder, well, where are the other 13 or 14? What happened to that? So a lot of our testosterone is very tightly bound to a molecule called sex hormone binding globulin, and it's a carrier protein, and it carries your testosterone around the bloodstream. The problem is that the bind to sex hormone binding globulin is a very, very tight bind. It's like a lock and a key that are stuck together, but like glued together. So you can't actually use either of them because they don't come apart. And so the testosterone that is tightly bound to sex hormone binding globulin is not available for you to use. And the reason I'm telling you this is because you want to make sure that your sex hormone binding globulin is at a healthy level. I like to have it below 70 if possible, and sometimes it goes very high, and that it's not completely understood, but one of the big reasons that it can go high is from prior exposure to hormones. So I actually saw 2 women yesterday that were on the NuvaRing, and they both had a sex hormone binding globulin of around 300, which is extremely high. And you can give a supplement called Dim Detox to bring it down. It takes a very long time, but if you have a very high sex hormone binding globulin, even if your testosterone looks okay, you may need extra testosterone because your free testosterone may be low. So, okay, I've probably already said too much. I don't want to make this video super long, but that's kind of the sex hormones in a nutshell. So then what else? Okay, then another really important thing to look at is the thyroid, okay? So I have made a previous video all about the thyroid, which I would refer you to, but just to recap, the things that we check about the thyroid, the big thing to check is the TSH, and this is the thyroid stimulating hormone, and this is a hormone that your brain makes to talk to your thyroid. So the TSH should be between 1 and 2. And so what happens is the brain makes some TSH, okay, to say like, hey, thyroid, make some hormone, and then the thyroid ideally says, okay, brain, no problem, and that hormone, the thyroid hormone, feeds back to the brain and normalizes the TSH. So if the thyroid is sleepy, then the brain has to turn up the volume. So then the brain starts to talk more loudly. Thyroid, hey, thyroid, wake up. And so the more sleepy the thyroid is, the higher the TSH goes. Okay, so when you have a high TSH, it means that your thyroid is not functioning properly. Now, TSH is not the only thing to check, okay? If you only check the TSH, you're missing the whole picture, but it's very important. You do also need to check a full thyroid panel so you can see the free T3, free T4, and some other things. But again, I don't want to make this too complicated. So your thyroid has to be happy for you to feel good, and most people are put on levothyroxine. The brand name in America is Synthroid. And levothyroxine is 100% synthetic T4, okay? So your thyroid makes a variety of things, T4, T3, T2, T1, calcitonin, and the T4 is a very weakly active thyroid hormone, mostly inactive, and it gets converted to T3, which is the active thyroid hormone as needed. Now, the thyroid also makes some T3. It's usually made in a ratio of 4 to 1 4 parts T4 to 1 part T3, and then your body will convert it as needed. The problem is that when you have a sick thyroid, it doesn't often convert properly. So when you give someone levothyroxine, which is synthetic T4, if you give them enough, it will feed back to the brain to normalize the TSH. But unfortunately, people don't feel good because they don't have enough T3, the active hormone. So I prefer to use either Armour or NP thyroid, one of the natural thyroid preparations, which are made out of dried pig thyroid. And then that gives you everything that's in the thyroid. So, okay, that's obviously very abbreviated. But again, the video is already over 10 minutes. I want to wrap it up here. So the two more quick things. Another hormone that is critically important is growth hormone, okay? So in my practice, I like to get the sex hormones optimized first, and then at a later visit, we could talk about a growth hormone releasing agent. And certainly the growth hormone releasing agents are amazing for people over 40. I don't like to use them too much in people under 40, maybe a little bit, but not too much. I'm pretty conservative. And raising your levels of growth hormone, I mean, that's really the fountain of youth, okay? Your skin, your energy, your body composition, recovery, amazing. So if you go to your doctor, you want to get your sex hormones checked, you want to get a full thyroid panel, of course, CBC, comprehensive metabolic panel, vitamin D, B12, hemoglobin A1C. These are just the most basic things. And then now, we don't check growth hormone per se. We use something called IGF-1 as a marker for growth hormone. And if your doctor doesn't know anything about growth hormone or peptides, I'm not really sure how useful that's going to be. But again, I encourage you to find a functional medicine doctor in your area that can really take care of you. And of course, you can always call the Medical Health Institute, and I would be happy to take care of you because this is the thing. I mean, we are expecting to live these days well into our 80s, right? And so the concept of living your life in a steady decline until you die for over half your life, it's totally unacceptable to me, right? So when you get into your 40s, I think you have to make the choice. Okay, am I going to just age gracefully, whatever that is, or am I going to get evaluated and put the biochemicals back into my body that I'm missing and really optimize myself? And of course, nothing can substitute for a healthy lifestyle. You have to eat well, you have to exercise, you have to have mindfulness practices. A healthy attitude goes a really long way, but also put the biochemicals back into your body. So I hope this helps. Reach out if you have any questions, and I hope you have a wonderful day.